Hello, my name is Gabby and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, then welcome to my channel, and in today's video I will be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So this is a book tag that has been around for a really long time now, and over the years it has been one of my absolute favorites to watch, so I'm really excited to do this. So one last thing before we get started here, I will have the original creators of this tag, Read Like Wildfire and Earl Grey Books, linked down in the description below, so you can check them out if you have not already. So the first category is the best book that you've read so far in 2020, and this is a really hard question for me because I've had a lot of 5-star reads, but I do think I'm gonna have to go with Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. So there's like this certain feeling that I get when I'm really reading a book that I love, like an all-time favorite book, and this book gave that to me. And also I credit it a lot in my head for giving me that feeling and for really just saving my reading year at a time when I was in a pretty bad reading slump. And up until I read this book, I was still reading a lot of books that I loved, and I was giving out a lot of 5 stars, but this was the book that really gave me that feeling that I was talking about, so this is going to be my answer for that. So next is the best sequel that you've read so far in 2020, and my answer for this is Ruthless Gods by Emily A. Duncan, which is the sequel to Wicked Saints. So this was a book that I was a little worried about going into it. I really liked Wicked Saints, I gave it 5 stars, but I still wasn't really sure about where the story was going to go, but thankfully this just exceeded all of my expectations, and I am completely down for it and ready for whatever the series wants to throw at us next. So other than Ruthless Gods, the only other book that I like given a solid 5-star rating to was Dark Dawn by Kristoff, which is the last book in the Nevernight Chronicles. Which I did really love this book, and I really love this trilogy altogether, but I did read half of it in 2019, so I'm just gonna go ahead and give it the Ruthless Gods. Next is a new release that you haven't read yet, but you want to. So I have 2 books here for this, and they both came out like semi-recently, and the first one we're going to talk about is Forest of Souls by Lori M. Lee. And this was actually one of my most anticipated releases when I just like quickly scrolled through a bunch of 2020 releases at the beginning of the year. So this book follows our main character who is training to become the Queen's next spy, however this is all interrupted when her best friend is killed. Our main character is then revealed to be a soul guide when she somehow brings that friend back to life. So after this she is summoned to the Deadwood by the Spider King, where only her and her abilities are going to be able to tame the trees and restrain them from starting a war. So when I read the first half of the synopsis, I was like kind of into it, but I wasn't really sure yet. And then when I read the part about the Spider King and like the magical tree thing that they got going on, this became an insta-buy for me, and I am like so excited to read this. And the second book that I wanted to talk about is House of Dragons by Jessica Klaus. So this book follows 5 outcasts who compete in this competition to fight for the throne after the emperor dies. So I don't know if this is the most original plot in the world, but whenever I see the word outcast, it always makes me excited. And although I do tend to get tired of seeing that YA competition trope, I do have a really good feeling about this one. So next is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I love this question because I love to pre-order new releases, but I do tend to not look at any before like the month that they're coming out in is coming up. So these are both going to be July releases, and I actually might make a video on all the books I pre-ordered in July because I have a lot of books that I'm really excited about coming out this month. Anyway, both of these books I'm going to be talking about are both superhero origin story plot lines, and you all know I love those. And I wish I knew how to put like the picture up on the screen somewhere of the cover, but I don't think my editor has that feature, or maybe I just can't find it, I don't know. But the first of those books is Faith Taking Flight by Julie Murphy, which is a plus-size female superhero origin story. And the second is The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune, which is an Own Voices debut that's supposed to be like Fangirl meets Renegades, which everything about that sentence is a yes. So next is your biggest disappointment, and this for me is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Kristoff. So the only things I ended up liking from this is the multimedia format and also just their depiction of AI. I thought that was interesting. But I didn't like the romance, I didn't care about the story, and I didn't care about any of the characters. And this was just such a big disappointment for me because this book is just so well loved, it's so hyped up, and I really wanted to feel that way too. I did read this right around the time I read Dark Dawn, and also I really love the Aurora cycle by these 2 authors, so I was really expecting to love this, and maybe the hype just got to me a little bit, but it just wasn't meant to be. So next is your biggest surprise, and this for me is The Kiss of Deception by Mary E. Pearson. This book is about a princess who flees on her wedding day to go live a normal life. However, the prince she was supposed to marry and also an assassin that was sent after her when she fled show up there, and like love triangle-y things happen. So I wasn't expecting to like this book at all because of the love triangle, and I'm also forcing myself to read this trilogy because I do want to read Dance of Thieves, but I want to read this trilogy first. And whenever I've been in situations like that previously, I've ended up not having the best time. But I actually really ended up enjoying this for whatever reason. I still can't figure out why I like this book. But whatever the reason is, that's great because now I'm actually excited to read the rest of the trilogy. So this next one is favorite new author, which could be a debut or just an author that is new to you. And this is another really hard question, but I'm going to be going with an author who is new to me, and that is Angie Thomas. The Hate U Give has sat on my shelves for so long just because it's a contemporary and because I mostly focus on fantasy and sci-fi, but it is what I am currently reading and it's just so amazing and I literally just have no words for it. And before that book there, I was reading On the Come Up and I just really loved everything about this. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Angie Thomas for this question because it has become abundantly clear that I'm going to want to read everything she writes. Like, she is on my Insta-buy list for sure, and because I have so little of those in the contemporary genre, whenever I find one, it's extra special, so yeah, I'm gonna give it to her for this question. So next is newest fictional crush, and I have enough trouble finding couples to ship in books, letting alone trying to find myself a boyfriend in one. Yeah, I don't really know with this one. I'm gonna go with either Merrick from the Witchland series or Nathaniel from Sorcery of Thorns. So next is newest favorite character, and for this I'm going to go with Zaylee from, once again, Children of Blood and Bone. She is just a character that I gelled with right away, and she also just has a lot of aspects of her character and personality that I personally really like and enjoy reading about. So next is a book that has made you cry, and I don't have anything for this because a book hasn't made me cry so far this year. I actually don't really think anything has been that close either. I guess maybe my answer for this is Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare. I guess I really don't have a good answer for this one. Maybe I need to read that A Little Life book. I do have a couple of books that I'm reading in July that I do think have the potential to make me cry, but I guess until then, Lord of Shadows is my answer. So next is a book that made you happy. I do want to give a quick honorable mention to the Aurora Cycle by Amie, Kaufman, and Kristoff. Usually they are my go-to answer for like questions about fun books. But this year it was just Out Fun by Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. It's about a witch who fled from her coven and is forced to marry a religious witch hunter. So this is a book that is dark and infuriating at times. It's also just completely ridiculous and just so funny. And I also think the romance is really cute. It's like an enemies to lovers thing. Yeah, this was definitely a 5-star read for me, and it's just one of the most fun books that I've ever read, and whenever I think about it, it just makes me happy. So next is the most beautiful book that you've either bought or received so far in this year. I love this question so much. There are literally so many books that I bought this year that have just such amazing covers. So once again, this is really hard to pick, but I do think I have a favorite, and that is The Deep by River Solomon, featuring some other people that will be up on the screen. So this is a novella based off of African folklore about African slave women who were thrown overboard by the slave owners. And this in particular follows the water-dwelling descendants of those women. I think I might have actually gasped when I first saw this cover. Then I found out what it was about and just heard all the great reviews for it. So this was just a perfect combination of anything, and I am very excited to read this book. So next is, what books do you need to have read by the end of the year? I don't want to end up repeating anything for this question, although I definitely could. I would like to have the rest of the Shadowhunter series done before the end of the year. So I have Queen of Air and Darkness, I have Ghost of the Shadow Market, I have Red Scrolls of Magic, and I have Chain of Gold left. And also probably by the time I get to Chain of Gold, The Lost Book of the White will be out, so we'll add that to that list too. But if I get nothing else from this universe done before the end of the year, I at least want Queen of Air and Darkness read. Other than that, I also need to finish It by Stephen King, which I've been reading since October, and also Wicked As You Wish by Rin Chupeco. I just don't want to take these two books into the new year with me. Okay, so that is all I have for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and answer the question that will be around here if you want to do that. And hopefully I will see you here next time. Bye!